You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Kaplan, are you there, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
That's better. Keith Kaplan, Teaneck resident. With respect to Dr. Pruitt and some of the people that spoke, when people come to talk about Philip Pinnell, they come to talk about Philip Pinnell. There used to be a time in this town where you can come and talk about something and actually talk about the thing. There's, in fact, for people that don't realize it, you can walk right outside the municipal building right now and see the unfinished life memorial to Sarah Duker, who died in the Intifada. These days, we got jihadi Janes walking through town as if Intifada is a cool thing to do. No, it's about murdering people, you sick bastards. The fact is, we need to call out things that are bad.
I think we have to cut him off for saying what he said.
We do not.
I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I heard.
It is sick.
Our attorney's saying to. Sorry, Mr. Kaplan, we have to terminate your remarks. Anyone in chambers? Mr. Rogovan.
Paula Rogovan. I just want to speak briefly about the Green Grounds and Maintenance Policy, the Resolution 54-2024. The resolution was posted late yesterday afternoon, leaving no time for the public to really review it. It uses language that is different from the resolution used in prior discussions, words such as green, integrated pest management, as opposed to what was discussed at the last council meeting, which was organic land management practices. The word green is often used and misused, and I want to make sure we don't use it in the resolution because we need to use more specific terminology. Green sounds good, but doesn't really have content. So I propose that the Environmental Commission review review the resolution and bring it back for a vote at the next meeting. It's basically a good resolution, so I'm basically in favor, but I'd like to see it withdrawn for now until the next meeting. I also propose that the Town Council authorize the Environmental Commission to work with residents and Beyond Pesticides to hold an educational forum about health impacts of pesticides. I hope that the forum would be in the next month ahead of spring so residents can learn a lot before making choices about our own lawns and gardens. About AINRs and the use of our municipal parking lots. We were told before the storm the other day, we were sent a message from the town that we should use the municipal parking lots if we needed to during that storm. Well, if we give our municipal parking lots to a developer, as is the proposal, we will not have a place to go during storms. Many of us, all of us in the Southwest Neighborhood Association, to which I belong, we are opposed to using the AINRs, and we also don't want to give away our public parking lots. This Saturday, there's at the Puffin Cultural Forum, there's a screening. This is not a war story. It's on the 27th at 8 p.m. at Puffin. There'll be Teaneck residents, and veterans Jan Berry and Walt Nygaard who are in it. When we look at war and the impacts of war, you can see in this movie what happens, some of the things that happen to our veterans who have been in war. And so it is my plea as a member of the Teaneck Peace and Justice Vigil that we do everything we can to oppose war as a solution to problems. On the current situation in Gaza, there are over 25,000 people dead, more than 10,000 children
Thank you, Paula.
dead. We need a ceasefire, and we need it now.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Doug, someone on Zoom?
I have Hildy Dillon. Please unmute.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to talk first very briefly. I'm Hildy Dillon, a resident of Teaneck for 38 years, on accessory dwelling units, which I am on the board of Age Friendly Teaneck, so I am speaking on behalf of Age Friendly Teaneck, that I'm in full support of this, and I hope that the township will support it. I do understand that you want the planning board to review the ordinance and see that this is also incorporated in our master plan. But I do see it as a very important housing choice, not the only choice, but a good alternative that can preserve the style and character of our residential zoned neighborhoods, and helps both young people and older people that need caregivers within a short distance of their home. Teaneck is aging, we know this, and this is a wonderful alternative for those families that choose to go in this direction, so I hope that it will be supported. Also, I wanted to talk about the Resolution 54, 2024. I am totally in favor of us having a green and grounds maintenance policy. But as Paula stated, it was posted very late Monday night, and after our environmental commission meeting that took place last Wednesday on January 17th. Our next meeting is February 21st, and I would like to ask the council to table it till the EC has a chance to look at it and work with the DPW on furthering some of the definitions, as Paula referred to, of the definition of green and organic, to make it a little bit more specific than it is right now. Again, I'm very pleased that we're going in this direction and that we will have this resolution. I just want to make sure that the EC and others have a chance to review it and provide recommendations for language. And that's what I have tonight. In terms of our township, I hope the council will give us a little bit of information tonight of where you are on organizing an empathy training, both for the council itself. I did listen in to the advisory board for community relations last night. They're doing a great job. They also have great interest in this. And I hope that we can move forward with it. It is one step in the right direction to heal our town and to heal how our council communicates with one another and with the township residents. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Sir, your hand was up.
Hello to the council. Amrit Ramvitan, Teaneck resident. Oh, is it not? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? There we go. All right, I'll start again. Hello, council. My name is Amrit Ramvitan, Teaneck resident. I'd like to petition the council to update Township Code Section 3329, fencing and retaining walls. The current way the code is being applied to corner lots is incorrect and it should be updated. The interpretation states that a corner lot has two front yards. For ease of discussion, I'll call the primary front yard, where your door and address are, and the front side yard, the side of your house fronted by another street. 3329 allows a 6-foot fence in the front side yard, but forces it to be 50% open. I don't think this was the intent of the code when it was drafted, especially when looking at other townships in Bergen County. It honestly doesn't make sense to have a full 75-foot section of wall be 50% open if site triangles are observed, right? The site triangle is the main safety requirement and the difference between an interior lot and a corner lot. Now, with the interpretation for the resident to achieve privacy in their backyard, they have two poor options ahead of them. First option is adhere to the current interpretation, leave a front side yard 50% open. This forces the resident to fill in the gaps with shrubs and trees, which creates two issues. It's a higher initial cost for that resident because they now have to plant these trees and shrubs, and a higher maintenance cost over a full lifetime of that fence. Second option is apply for a variance. This in itself is a costly endeavor. I already discussed with the zoning board secretary last year, and I believe the price was about $750, which has no guarantee the application will be approved with the current code. So the The resolution, I've been told for this, that the township's told past residents who've applied for a variance is the first option, fill it in with trees and shrubs. Now, this honestly doesn't seem fair for residents of a corner lot if you're not violating any safety requirements. There's an argument here for fairness and equity and for financial hardship. I think this has to do with poor and conflicting wording in 3329A1 and 3329B3. It looks like we're trying to cram too much into this section. The conflicting code that comes up where this becomes an issue is where you're allowed a 6-foot fence, but in 3329B3, fences over 2 feet in height located in any front yard area shall be at least 50% open. Now, this is really, when you look at other township codes, supposed to be applied to a primary front yard where you have your 25-foot setback for a 4-foot picket fence. Usually that's what has to be 50% open. But because this says front yard and any front yard, and the township considers a corner lot to have 2 front yards, they're both 50% open. Thank you
sir.
for your time.
Thank you. Doug, someone on Zoom?
Lillian Lewis, you are free to unmute.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm a 41-year resident. I hope you, the council, seriously consider what Dr. Pruitt proposed, what he just proposed. Just please consider it. Also, I want to thank the town attorney and Mayor Pagan on your quick action to cut off Keith Kaplan. His behavior that he displayed is a disgrace to the human race. Thank you.
Lillian, you still have 2.5 minutes left. I think she might be gone.
What I wanted to say was short and sweet. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Lewis. Mr. Vatsky?
Okay, Art Vansky, Teaneck resident, COM. Okay. I'm here once again to talk about.
Yeah, you need the mic.
Yeah, if you could just fold it a little.
Better?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I'm here once again to talk about the railroad because, as far as I know, CSX has not responded to your requests for an update what has happened to the railroad since July 12, 2023. And that's over 6 months, multi-billion-dollar company. I remember the presentation, a lot of good suggestions. I don't know what's been done. A derailing can happen tonight. There's no reason that we can't be another East Palestine, Ohio. There isn't. Wish there was, but there isn't. And by a side remark, I'll say, if you want to draw Teaneck together as one, have a derailing. We'll go nuts, okay? This should not happen. I got words in here about the head of the National Transportation Safety Board saying that derailings are preventable. Preventable. The chair of that committee. And yet, what has CSX told you? Anything in those 6 months? Have they put in those sensors? Oh, I'll wait to the end. Have they improved the training of their railroad workers? No answer. Huh. Here's a couple of things. I've been asking everyone here to get the film Unstoppable. Anyone who's seen it, raise your hand. Yay, yay. Okay. Okay. Here's the library edition. You want to borrow it? It's right here. Take it. Oh. Okay. And there's further remarks to show you how desperate people are. 25, I'm out of time already?
No, you have 40 seconds,
40
Mr.
seconds.
Vatsky.
Here's a book called Bomb Trains. Paula Rogovan taught me about this. This is one of 2 books about the 47 who died in Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. Okay? They died we could die. I have video to track the speed of the trains that go through near our house in the Sagamore Park. This railroad, it has a gold mine in these rails right here, and we are being suckered.
Thank you, Mr. Vatsky. Someone on Zoom, Doug?
Bringing in Cheryl Hall. Please unmute. You have 3 minutes.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Hi, Cheryl Hall. I am a 50-year resident of Teaneck. I've been here 5 days after my mother pushed me from her body. I wasn't planning on calling in. I'm kind of hoarse because I'm still sick, but oh boy, we need the training. Yeah. You know, sometimes when you hear a lot of gaslighting, a lot of anger and frustration, the best thing that you can do is to step back and listen, and not always to have a response back or an interjection back. I'm finding that. I have invited Dr. Pruitt and many others to speak at Good and Welfare. I guess that didn't happen last night, but we have a wonderful group of community relations that I can tell we work well together, and we really want to do good things for this town. I want to 100% agree with Ms. Young. This entire council voted unanimously for both resolutions. So the responsibility for both lands at everyone's feet. With that said, I want to encourage this council. I'm hoping that empathy training will be approved. Please, talk about this to the community. Give an answer. People are begging for something. I heard Dr. Pruitt saying hiring of a professional to help people. That sounds exactly like what you would be doing with empathy training. So I think that given the pressure cooker emergency situation that we're in, we need to respond to people saying we are working on something. We know we have a problem and we want to address it. And I can see definitely that all of us need that training. I also want to thank all of the council for your faith in me. In particular, I want to thank Councilwoman Goldberg for the past few months of our heated and passionate discussions, because we have not agreed on a lot of things, but she always heard me out, and I always stepped back and listened to her. And I think that if people really gave that a chance to listen without fighting back and just listen and then say your piece about yourself, be self-driven, a lot more peace in our lives would be here. But I love Teaneck. I don't agree that we're going to hell. I think we're doing good. Thank you, Mayor Pagan.
Thank you, Cheryl. Someone in chambers? Mr. Addison?
Good evening, Council. Ray Addison, 30 years, Teaneck resident. First of all, I want to commend the council for sitting up there and being able to take all of the stuff that's being thrown at you. But one of the things about being a good leader is to be a good listener. Listen to your constituents. You have the power now, but we have the power when it comes time to vote. So you need to listen to what your constituents are saying, because you represent all the people all the time, not some of the people some of the time. I agree with Dr. Pruitt in regards to the monuments. There's too many people, too many different cultures in the town that we could decide that we want to do only 2. What happens when 4 or 5 others would like to do it? We need to step back, reevaluate, and decide to do it more where everyone could be included. I agree with Mr. Vatsky in terms of the trains. We are sitting on a minefield. Our houses are one of our largest investments. And once that goes up, where do we go in Teaneck? Nowhere. We need to listen to our constituents. We need to be more forthcoming. We need to not have so much divisiveness in the town. We don't need Mr. Keith Kaplan to call in with that type of attitude. That just divides the town even more. I agree also somewhat with the ADUs, but that creates more people in town, creates more cars on the street. We can do that, but in the master plan, did anyone ever think about hiring a compliance officer to make sure that everything is in compliance? Where do we put the cars when it snows? We can't put them in the driveway if we have people who only have a driveway and a parking lot, and we can't park on the streets during snow. So we have to think about the broad issues, not just be myopic and thinking about tunnel vision on just one area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Addison. Doug, someone on Zoom?
Sherry on, please state your name for the record. You're free to unmute.
Hi there, it's Sherry Han-Eid, longtime, actually lifelong resident of Teaneck. Tonight, I'm echoing many of my neighbors who've spoken already. Initially, I wanted to speak up about my support for ADUs until another resident decided to weaponize my existence by calling Muslim women jihadi Jains. I mean, that's disgusting. Categorizing us as such is not only erroneous, but puts women like myself who are visibly Muslim at risk for violent attacks. And I don't need to reiterate the scores of people who have been affected by anti-Muslim hate or bigotry in this country. How dare you use your words to put my life at risk and the lives of so many others? I'm appalled that you used to be a former council member, and yet you continue to speak this disgust in public. Anti-Muslim tropes are heard all over tonight in this town, all over right-wing media, and yet it continues to happen, and we're telling you we're feeling it. It's happened in front of your face. What will you guys do to protect me, to protect my children, to protect women who look like me? What will be done for me as a resident who's visibly Muslim and who's now been called jihadi Jain? All anybody needs is just to be a little bit irritated with me and do something dangerous. I'm a mother, I'm a nurse, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. Think about your words before you speak them in public. Unfortunately, we have so much work to do in this town, and it didn't happen in October. It's been this way. We have lulled ourselves into thinking that we're the utopia because we're the first to desegregate schools. We have so much work to do. Do any of us even know our neighbors? Do any of us have close friends who are of a different culture, of a different religion, of a different race? How many of us can sit here and say that? The majority of our town, I don't think, does. And that is a sad state because we don't eat together, we don't go to school together, we don't play together. This town is segregated, it continues to be so, and it won't be undone until we all do the work, step outside of our communities, listen to each other, and stop talking over each other, stop using foul language, stop using tropes against each other, and really just be human again. It is disgusting, and I would love an apology from the entire council for the language that was used by this person, because it was not only dangerous, but hurtful. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Anyone in chambers? Doug, someone else on Zoom, please.
We have Lulu. Please state your name for the record. Feel free to unmute.
Hello?
Hi, Lulu. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Layla, Teaneck resident. I want to address the statement made by our mayor following the Palestine car rally that went through Teaneck last month. Mayor Pagan, your statement echoed the sentiments I've heard multiple times by your Zionist colleagues on council and by other fascist residents in town who love to dismiss the support for Palestine in Teaneck with the outside agitators trope. The term outside agitator is an anti-black dog whistle that was used by against black activists in the civil rights era and again more recently during the Black Lives Matter uprising in 2020. I've heard the same rhetoric echoed by racist fascists in this town when the BLM march through Teaneck was announced. Those same people are now accusing supporters of Palestine in Teaneck of the same thing. The term has been used to undermine and dismiss the legitimate efforts by Black activists for decades due to white supremacist notions that any movement considered legitimate and formidable wouldn't be led by a small group of Black locals. Mayor Pagan, I would hate to think that you'd want to be lumped in with the rest of the anti-Black fascists on this council and in this township. You've attended Teaneck Public Schools. You're the first Latino mayor of Teaneck. Do not allow Zionism and allegiance to fascists who condone genocide in Palestine.
Please stop
your
this
legacy
speech.
in this town.
Mr.
I also want to add that the term outside agitator is deeply colonial in its usage against people of the global majority. As Muslims, we have a tradition that goes like this, spoken by our beloved prophet, peace be upon him. The parable of the believers in their affection, mercy, and compassion for each other is that of one body. When any limb aches, the entire body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. The idea of community is foreign to most people on this council. It bewilders you that our community may travel many miles to stand up and support their sisters and brothers in humanity and consciousness. We are all Palestinian in spirit. I know this is a bewildering concept to most of you. I don't possess a single drop of Palestinian blood in my ancestry, but I fight for their freedom because it symbolizes freedom for all oppressed peoples worldwide collectively. I want to conclude by saying that this will not go away. The majority of this council decided back in October that they will stand with a settler colonial fascist regime in their genocide against an indigenous people who have no autonomy and whose lives are dictated entirely by the occupiers who are stealing their land. You made that choice. You will reap the consequences of being on the wrong side of history one day, and we will not stop. Teaneck won't know normalcy until it reckons with its complicity in this bloody genocide, and we will remind Teaneck of Palestine's existence every chance we get, and until it's free from the river to the sea. Thank you for your time, and free Palestine.
Mr. Berliner, 3 minutes.
Avi Berliner, Teaneck resident. I will say that the Board of Ed actually makes all their speakers say what town they're from. At least you can get an idea of who's local, who's not. And to the speaker who just shared her thoughts, his name is Mayor Pagan, not Pagan. Let's at least have the respect for those we may not agree with. Outside agitators, who came to the Board of Ed meeting that was last week? A group came, got up one by one to speak. Almost none by their own admission were from Teaneck, and frankly, when they were finished and the business of the schools and our students came up, they all got up to leave. Unfortunately, later when Good and Welfare came up, I was speaking to an almost empty bunch of seats because, frankly, the people who came to speak didn't care about our students. I would ask Council, perhaps you should be joining in our Board of Ed meetings and speaking as our fellow citizens and residents at just the disgusting display that we've been seeing and some of the rhetoric that's been up there on both sides, frankly. The more things change, unfortunately, the more they stay the same. In the spirit of integration and supporting the community, I would like to ask the Advisory Board of Community Relations, if I'm not mistaken, Deputy Mayor G is with us over Zoom, and we saw Cheryl Hall here earlier, to nominate Teaneck Soccer for the Matthew Feldman Award. I know that the Community Board of Advisory Board Community Relations really has been short the last couple of months, reasons we will not discuss now, but they really do engage and bring together every single corner of this town, and they have for many, many decades. We can speak about baseball, we can speak about other activities. Every Sunday, almost every night of the week, Teaneck Soccer brings together students, brings together residents of Teaneck together. I would also like to ask, and perhaps this is for the clerk, to make sure that all code is up to date on E-Code 360. Currently it shows through 9/5/2023. This is actually an improvement, but it does make it difficult for council and impossible for residents to investigate differences in code and look up the most up-to-date and current set of code. And really, as you're going through agenda items, you're looking up resolutions, you want to see what's happening. It's impossible to see what the current set of resolutions is, what the current set of code is, versus what we are proposing to actually come together with a coherent set of remarks. East Palestine was preventable, and frankly, it was noticed, right? We know exactly what caused it. It was overheating wheel bearings. my friend over here, Mr. Vatsky, has continued to tell us, right, there were defect detectors. They knew about it. It was actually human error that let the train continue to go. They overheated. The train caught fire. We all know what happens. We have defect detectors south of Ridgefield Park. We have north of us about 20 miles. Perhaps that's something, that's actually a problem that money can solve. We also know that there is Senate Bill 4049 to improve and standardize rail safety in New Jersey. Shorter trains, larger crews, and more defect detectors. Perhaps we can bring together Senator Johnson to come speak on this bill that he has sponsored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berliner. Dougie, someone on Zoom?
Yes, I have Rachel Kaplan. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, hi, this is Rachel Kaplan, Teaneck resident. I just want to thank you all for your time. I really love the idea of the parks, of like refurbishing them and putting the gate up so that the children are safe, and the art that you'll be bringing in. I know you mentioned poems. I would like to know what poems we put in. I think to reflect the diversity of art, we should also include Rafat Alira's poem, If I Must Die, as a suggestion. I believe so. The parks do remind me of the children that cannot play in their parks, the children that have passed, and the children that are still alive in Gaza right now. Over 600,000 children are out of school as well, which is truly saddening, and knowing that they cannot play in their parks. Yet the IDF make very disgraceful TikToks that they put up on social media in those parks, which are clear war crimes. Honestly, the resolution that was passed of Teaneck is very, very troubling, because as Chief Kaplan now just spoken, it is just inciting hate and Islamophobia, and it does not represent the community. Only 40% of Teaneck's community is of Jewish descent, yet the 60% are not. So I think it's time that we are not, here claiming to be the United States of Israel, but the United States of America. I would like to also that I also like to mention that this will go down in history. This will all go down in history and be on the right side of history, because since October 17th, once the resolution has been passed, there has been clear admission on behalf of the Israel government and the IDF that not 1,400 of people were killed. Even the IDF themselves and certain soldiers actually admitted to killing some of those festival goers. And I think it's absolutely wrong to have a resolution that is not reflecting the truth and is very biased. I also believe that it is very important for us to actually remind everybody that there is a genocide going on at the moment. If we're going to stand on truth and make a resolution, then let it be one that reflects the reality. Over 30,000 people have been killed, 62,000 injured, 2 million people right now are facing starvation because Israel is blocking food and humanitarian aid. 2 million people displaced in Gaza. It
Thank
matters.
you, Miss.
Word matters.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss. Someone in chambers, ma'am?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Amanda, and I'm a long-time Teaneck resident.
Can we have your last name, please?
Kearney. I'm standing here to bring your attention to the federal investigation brought against our district, especially highlighting the partnership with the Anti-Defamation League, otherwise known as the ADL, which is a nasty organization that sets out to encouraging violence against its targets. This McCarthyist era, a witch hunt for anti-Semitism amongst the students expressing solidarity with Palestine, must undoubtedly be understood through the nationwide harmful conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, a false and frankly anti-Semitic conflation in the first place. In our town, This is throwing our students, Black, Indigenous, Arab, Asian students, who are the descendants of those forced into diaspora thanks to U.S. colonialism and imperialism, right in the line of state violence more than ever before. I told you last time that I was here that any harm that comes to these students is on your hands for setting the stage of encouraged violence towards them with the town's resolution, the rally attended by council members and former council members right before the student walkout, and then Mayor Pagan's statement following the car rally. And I urge you now to do your part and stand against this partnership with the ADL. You are responsible to all of us, and in particular, you are responsible to those students.
Someone on Zoom, Doug?
Shanaz, please unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you, Doug. So this is Shanaz. As you know, I've been in Teaneck for over 50 years, and I don't think I've ever seen Teaneck like this before. I do want to just follow up on the last council meeting. I spoke on behalf of TDMC regarding the rail safety resolution. I know Art Batsky also mentioned that resolution, just wanted to get a status update on that. Also wanted to let you know, on behalf of Coalition to Unite Teaneck has identified some of the problems we're seeing in Teaneck that are dividing our community. We wrote down each problem statement and prioritized the problems. Top of the list is our children and their safety. To this end, we will be holding a panel discussion with the students. It's a student-led, student-moderated panel discussion that is really focused on Teaneck and Teaneck issues and what we can do. So hopefully we can truly start listening and put together some action plans that brings Teaneck to better understanding our neighbors, respect each other, and together protect our children and make our town safe. I also want to acknowledge at the MLK Birthday Committee had a really beautiful event this recently, and the Rabbi Sirbu of Temple Emet and Imam Sayyid Qureshi of Dar es-Salaam spoke, and they did a really joint statement. Just want to read some parts of that statement. And it said, "We stand side by side, not because we agree on everything, but because we agree that we must live as neighbors in this place we all call home. We're standing side by side because we know we can acknowledge one another's pain, even if we cannot agree on how to ease it. We're standing side by side because we can accomplish more in partnership than we can in opposition. We're standing side by side because rather than let the violence of other parts of the world push us apart, we want the message of peace, tolerance, and cooperation to extend from this place." It's really a great opportunity for Teaneck, especially the council members and the ones who are being called out tonight by several speakers, to really let's work together to bring peace and unity in Teaneck. And I hope you all join the session on February 6th, the student session. It'll be via Zoom. It'll be posted by the end of this week, 7:30 p.m., 7:30 to 9. The student session, really important to make sure that our community, at the least, takes care of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arjaman. Sir?
Mayor Pagan, are we going to be calling Good and Welfare at 10 o'clock?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Mr. Schwartz?
Are we going to be calling Good and Welfare after 1 hour?
Shortly. I think there's only a couple more hands left.
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready? Okay. My name is Michael Klatsky, Teaneck resident. And I want to start out with a quote from a famous New York Times columnist, an advisor to presidents. And he said a very, I think, very good statement that I heard this morning on a podcast while I was driving to work. And it's a very simple line. It says, "I don't know what's going to happen next, but I've never seen things this broken." I feel that way in our town right now. To address what Dr. Pruitt said, peace and understanding, that's something we really, really need to work on. I heard Yassine El-Kenyari talk earlier tonight about the pain his community is feeling. I feel like that my community feels that we're not being understood the pain and anguish and terror and isolation that we have felt in the Jewish community is something that we feel that's being ignored, and I feel that other communities are saying that that we shouldn't feel that way. I also feel that the Jewish community hasn't done enough to understand the pain of the Muslim community. I think that it would be well suited for all of us, everyone in town, whether it's leaders like yourselves, people in this room, people on Zoom, all of our neighbors, visitors, people who are watching this from everywhere else. The war children that are dead in Gaza are horrible. I shed a tear for them every time I hear that every day. They are the collateral damage in someone else's battle, in someone else's war. No child should ever have to do that. That's real. All of us feel this way. I think that's something that all of us should understand. Now, with that aside, I want to switch to something on council business. So and I think that is council business because it's something that's really deeply affecting our town. ADUs are on your agenda. Some of you may know me from whether I deal with ADUs. I'm like the guru on ADUs. The New York City Metropolitan Planning Council regularly has me give presentations there on behalf of the town of Ramapo, where I was the planner for some time. I now do special projects for the town council, drafting legislation on regulating ADUs that have gone out of control, sometimes how to get more of them in the market. One of our friends locally in Palisades Park has a great example of how ADUs can be implemented in a successful way. I just leave you with one or two pieces of advice here. Build them where you don't need a car. Build them, create zones a couple blocks from downtowns where everyone can shop and get all their goods. They're going to park on the street, and they're going to leave their cars there every day of the year. That's just going to happen. They're not going to do tandem parking in a driveway. So that's it. Have a great night.
Someone on Zoom, Doug?
RK, please state your name for the record. Please unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hey, good evening, Doug. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. This is Reshma Khan, longtime Teaneck resident. January has been designated by Governor Murphy as a Muslim Heritage Month. This was the inaugural January, and we had several beautiful celebrations right here in Teaneck. We had a cultural expo with performances and great projects by students on Sunday, January 7th. And then we had a neighborhood community brunch on Saturday, January 13th. We really want to thank our neighbors who came out to attend. A big thank you to all those who attended. We also had a couple of lovely programs at the library. Thank you to the library director, Shanae, and her staff for their support. And to everyone who attended, we had a very nice henna night session for ladies and children, and several people attended. It would have been nice to see more people come out, but I understand. And as I'm feeling from the pulse of everyone that's spoken tonight, there is a great big divide hanging over our heads right here in Teaneck. It is very disheartening. The Advisory Board on Community Relations met last night. We had a collaborative conversation. We talked about the divide in town, and we really believe that we would like to get the empathy training for our council members, and if budget allows, for the others as well. Sadly, I would also like to remind the council and my fellow residents that 25 to 30,000 lives have been taken. People have been killed in Palestine. And our social media every day is filled with ghastly videos of children being amputated without anesthesia, just horrific conditions there. Women having C-sections without anesthesia. Practically their entire healthcare system is in shambles. Schools, mosques have been bombed. There are no homes. 2 million people are displaced. Why do I bring this up? This council chose to involve our town in the Middle East crisis on October 17th. So why don't we actually, as a Teaneck Council, why don't you call for a permanent ceasefire so we can have peace, so we can stop the killings, we can bring back the kidnapped hostages. People in Israel and in Palestine can live peacefully together. Clearly, MLK Day, which was celebrated last week in grandeur with the theme of shared humanity, That was a great occasion to bring our Teaneck community together, and you could really see people holding hands and singing "We Shall Overcome." All of these are very uplifting moments, and I'm glad that Mayor Pagan, you decided to shut down the person who was spewing Islamophobia, and he clearly does not believe in shared humanity. So I do hope our council members really heed to residents who speak at good and welfare, and they show leadership for all of their constituents rather than continuing to divide us. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Anyone in chambers? Doug, someone else on Zoom, please.
Samantha, please unmute. State your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Samantha Rotman. I'm here just to reply to Keith Kaplan that spoke earlier. I just want to say the truth is the only terrorist here is the IDF. And the IDF that has bombed hospitals, that has destroyed thousands of homes and killed children with smiles on their faces. So just to give you an idea of how Zionists are, a veteran of Deir Yassin massacre after killing hundreds of Palestinians, he states, erase them, their families, mothers, and children. These animals can no longer live. If you have a Palestinian neighbor, don't wait. Go to his home and shoot him. So I ask you, who is the terrorist? The occupation forces has slaughtered over 25,000 people, and not even counting the people and the children under rebels. Over 25,000 people. They're unarmed civilians, and most of them being women and children. Nothing justifies the murder and the genocide of innocent civilians in Gaza. So as you speak about jihadi Jains and as you share your nasty fascist thoughts, our children are being slaughtered. So when will Teaneck condemn the genocide of Palestinians? When will Teaneck condemn the millions of refugees exiled from their homes? When will Teaneck condemn the fascist members in their town? So while on the other hand, the resistance who has defended our people, who has defended our land, I'm here to say just one thing. We will always support the resistance and salute to the resistance who stand for the dignity and the land of our people. So long live the resistance and glory to the resistance and glory to all our martyrs who you seem to be okay with mocking. They're the ones fighting for the freedom. They're the ones fighting for our resistance.
Mr. Mayor, we got Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to sit here and keep listening to this.
All right,
I'd like to make a motion that we end good and welfare.
Wait, was she done speaking though? We can't interrupt her.
I don't know if that was considered speaking. That wasn't speaking.
I know, Mr. Schwartz, but we can't interrupt her. Ma'am, you have a minute and 17 seconds left, if you're still there.
Yeah, it's so funny because if you were in the right side of history, you wouldn't be upset right now, and you wouldn't be the one crying, and you wouldn't be the one mad. So I ask you, who really is on the right side of history? Do you even have any children? Because if you have any children, I question, have you watched the videos of the children? Or have you watched the videos of the children under rubbles, begging to be alive and begging to be helped? So
we're going to keep her talking?
Yes, she has 50 seconds left, Mr. Schwartz.
Yeah, I'm good. I think I got my point across.
Mr. Schwartz, you were saying something, sir?
I'd like to make a motion to end good and welfare.
Second.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Belcher.
That was your mic.
Do we have any other speakers, Mr. Clerk?
There's just a few more on Zoom, about 7. It changes though.
So we're saying we don't want to hear them? Is that what is this motion saying we do not want to hear them? If that's the case, I would vote no because I would like to hear them.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Orgen.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G.
No.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes, so we can move on to the consent agenda and get some work done. All right, good and welfare is concluded, and our next order of business is the consent agenda, and all matters listed on the consent agenda are to be considered routine by nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If any discussion is desired by council, that particular item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the amount?
Mr.
of the
Mayor,
list
are we
into the record?
responding to good and welfare or no?
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Would you like to start us off, Ms. Goldberg?
Guess. Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. So thank you to Age Friendly for coming out. Just to clarify, I fully support the idea of ADUs and understand their unique role in the affordable housing crisis. We need to think outside the box as a nation to address the housing needs of the country. I strongly support the master plan process. As Councilman Schwartz quoted a well-read newsletter, the master plan is a social contract, and I would like to see it incorporated into the master plan and make sure we really listen to our planning board. And I want to thank Mr. Klatsky for his remarks about ADUs. I hope that many of his ideas can be implemented into the ordinance and master plan. Transparency is a word that people like to say regularly, myself included. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. We had a process for appointments to advisory boards and statutory boards that had not been updated since the 80s and spent months to find a fair and equitable process for Teaneck. If you apply to be on an advisory board or statutory board in Teaneck, you will be offered an interview now, and if you choose to accept, you will be interviewed. Teaneck is special and exceptional, and Teaneck wants engaged residents. It doesn't matter who you are. You will have that same opportunity as anyone else to have a seat at the table. Residents who want to be active in their town should be encouraged to participate, and I am proud to guarantee that opportunity. This council has gone above and beyond to improve transparency. Sometimes those are baby steps, and sometimes those are big steps, but every step is important. Advisory boards were reopened a year ago, and as a result of that, public participation is encouraged and welcome. We are seeing subcommittee minutes for zoning and cannabis in the agenda packets and on the website for a year, and I again ask other subcommittees to provide the detailed minutes in writing to both members of the council and the public. When something is good, when something is fundamental to your beliefs, you vote on it, no matter who is bringing it forward, no matter who is supporting it, because that's what it means to work together and to represent all of Teaneck as one town. Good governance, transparency, equal opportunity, fairness. I am happy and proud to work with anyone who votes and supports these things. Regarding CSX, that's been raised numerous times by Art Vatsky and other members of the public, and I do think it's an important issue for us to address. Our role is very limited, however, and I would really like to try to encourage, I don't know, a task force maybe with the manager to reach out with other municipalities along the tracks and have a joint task force or partnership to try to hold CSX accountable where we can. I recognize, however, our powers are minimal with CSX, but we can work together on lobby and safe planning. I hope that this is something that my colleagues would support. The elephant in the room is an invitation to be courageous and honest with ourselves and each other. Doing the right thing at all costs is courageous and honest, and what it means to have the privilege to sit here serving every resident, every vote, and every voice. Outside of these chambers is a memorial for Teaneck resident Sarah Duker. I'm not sure how many people in this room knew Sarah, but I remember Sarah. I remember being in my best friend's bedroom as my mother let me know that my babysitter and her student, Sarah Duker, and her fiance were murdered by Hamas terrorists. And I would support a ceasefire conditioned on the release of all hostages, including now 1-year-old Kfir Bibas, and the dismantling of Hamas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Ms. Belcher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just thank the presenters that came out, or speakers that came out and spoke about the ADUs. I think ADUs are vitally important and a great addition to our township. As you guys have heard me say before, you know, we're in a housing crisis in our community, so ADUs is certainly a solution, and I'm certainly in support of it. And I know the planning board is going to be meeting and discussing it, and understanding that the master plan is something that's vital to our community. It's something that was a part of, once being elected, that we wanted to have that as a guidepost, and I continue to support the efforts of the master plan. I just want to say a couple points. Thank you for my neighbors for coming out and speaking. I do agree that it is important for us to realize that we have some work to do in town. I thank Dr. Pruitt for his offer. I think it certainly is an awesome way in which to really put your money where your mouth is in terms of really believing in our town. And I know you are one who believes wholeheartedly in our town, in the future of our town. I think the oasis of human understanding is important. Why? Because it represents all communities. Why? Because it's important that everyone feels heard and everyone feels seen. And I think that we have to remember that, unfortunately, when you have hurt and harm, it's because people feel that they're not seen and they're not heard. It's kind of hard to get people to buy into an empathy or sensitivity training while at the same time asking for monuments to one or two groups of people. Our work and our words basically matter. Our actions should speak louder than our words. It's a lot to say that, we need to listen to our neighbors. I do believe, Mr. Addison, that it is important that we do have a code enforcement, because there are so many ways in which, as we grow as a township, we have to keep our code enforcement is in mind. I thank the Community Relations Advisory Board for the work that they're doing. It is a heavy lift, but know this, and I'm just going to quote Bishop Desmond Tutu, who said, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness." So we have to believe in hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Ms. Orgen?
So, Mr. Vatsky, I don't have a DVD player anymore, but I look forward to watching that movie in some other forum. Okay. To everybody here, be aware that there are COVID tests in the front for anybody to take. COVID is back. It's all over the place. Most insurance does not cover the tests anymore, and they're not available in a lot of pharmacies, so you may want to grab those on your way out. I went to the Rhoda Center a week ago Saturday. We were invited by our neighbors from the mosque and our Muslim neighbors in town, and I wasn't sure I was going to go. I wasn't sure how I was going to be received, and I thought about not going and decided to walk over, even though it was our Sabbath. And my daughter Jamie asked to come with me, and I was grateful. And I met a neighbor, Emma Horowitz, there, and many people thought she was my daughter, which wasn't great for my ego, but it was very nice that she joined us. More people in the room knew my daughter Jamie than knew me. People asked to take selfies with her because they ride with her on TVAC and they're friends with her from there, and their parents knew her. And I walked in, I had trepidation, and I was received so beautifully, and I was welcome, passed from one person to the next, from the board members of the mosque to the imam, to people that had organized the food there, and just people who were joining them, and members of the Board of Education who were there. There was kosher food for us, which was so nice, and I'm so grateful that I went. And my feeling after the fact is, you have family and you don't always get along with them, and you have neighbors in town and you don't always get along with them. But if you don't go home for Thanksgiving, or you don't go home for Christmas or holidays, you don't fight it out with them and you don't talk to them. You just end up not speaking to them, and that can't be in a township like this. So for as much as we disagree on these issues or other issues, for as much as is coming up now that was always simmering below the surface, the way to work through this is to talk, not necessarily to agree, but to talk. And I heard the Advisory Board of Community Relations meeting was good last night. I was working, I wasn't able to go, but I look forward to watching it. I've had more coffee in the last few weeks than I care to discuss, because I keep meeting people for it, and that's how you get to know one another. I've spoken to people who have stood across from me and yelled at me and talked to me and written letters to me, but I'm finally sitting down with them and I'm talking to them and I'm getting to know them as people, and I think that's what's important. I don't agree with what Mr. Kaplan did tonight. I think I'm very happy that we're going to cut people off when they don't they don't speak with respect, and I think there are different levels of that we need to discuss as a council. There are words, trigger words, there are things that are just not okay, but I also don't agree with Lila Graham, who says that people are going to keep coming to meetings and blow up our town. That you can keep coming to meetings, and you can speak, and you can say the same things over and over again, and we will sit here, and we will listen, because this is the United States of America, but you are not going to blow up our town. And so anybody who's interested in a conversation, please reach out. I'm happy to sit down and speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orgen. Mr. Schwartz?
Yes, thank you very much. Two comments. To the corner lot fence speaker, I believe we emailed. There were some very good points you made. The sub-zoning committee met with, along with the building department, decided that the code should not be changed and that any variance should be sought at the Board of Adjustment. Those were good comments about the length of the fence, how much of the fence should be seen through and clear, and we urge you to please file your variance at the Board of Adjustments. We cannot take in financial hardship into account when safety is far more important. Please file your appeal. You met with the building department once. They'll gladly meet with you again and help you fill out the application. In terms of one issue that's always near and dear to my heart was security at our houses of worship. I believe Mr. El-Kayarani mentioned that he was concerned with an imam being tragically killed, and the circumstances are under investigation. Regardless of what happened there, our houses of worship must be secure. Deputy Mayor Katz and I met with the board of Darisol, and we've suggested certain things we can work with them on as it relates to police and security grants, decoy cars, and other matters I won't discuss online. And I urge them, if they want to continue to implement these changes, to reach out to us. We've been emailing back and forth, and I continue to look forward to their safety, their security in all our houses of worship. I echo everything that Councilwoman Orgen said as it relates to speakers coming here and trying to blow up the town. And I urge our council to shut off speakers who go on those tangents, that send those trigger words, and do more of what was done tonight when certain offensive comments are made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Deputy Mayor G?
Mr. Mayor, I yield my time.